Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, probably the most entertaining marketing podcast you're going to put in your ears. I'm Vin, the associate producer here at Stirista. The goal of this podcast is to chat with industry leaders and get their take on the current challenges of the market, and we'll have a little fun along the way. In today's episode, Vincent and Ajay talk with Anudit Vikram, the Chief Product Officer at MediaMath. He talks about how the global pandemic's effect on remote work helped workers develop better relationships with the help of video calls, and also about how cookies going away affects the industry. AJ visits the Spurs headquarters, and Vincent is a teensy bit jealous. Give it a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stirista's The Marketing Stir. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Vincent Petrofessa, the Vice President of B2B Products and Partnerships here at Stirista. It is so great coming at you. Season 2, you've already heard some of the great episodes we have. We have even more ahead of that, including this one. I'm very excited about this one and this person and this company. We'll get to that in a moment. A little teaser there, I know. Ladies and gentlemen, first, let's get it out of the way. People are wondering, maybe they're listening to us for the first time. We appreciate that. Stirista, who are you? Well, Stirista, we are a marketing technology company. We focus on identity. We have our own business-to-business and business-to-consumer databases. Companies utilize us to target some of those individuals to get new customers. Again, identity. We have our own DSP, so we can do display, we can do connected TV, OTT. Email me, Vincent@Stirista.com. Maybe we can help you. I'm confident we can help you. I just gave you my email address. The other thing I'm confident about is my barber, because I get a haircut every 10 days, and my co-host, ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of Stirista. I can't wait to hear some of his stories. This guy is killing it in the tennis world as well as the business world. Mr. AJ Gupta. What's up, AJ?
Hey, Vincent. I did something that you might actually enjoy for a change. Got invited to the Spurs headquarters, so we had a photo taken with all of their championships. So.
I saw that. Now I'm not a Spurs fan. I am a Chicago Bulls fan. We have 6 championships, by the way, to the San Antonio's 5.
Close.
However, I was jealous. Anytime, I've never been that close to a trophy like that.
Yeah, they almost let me touch it, and then they yelled. I was getting way too close.
I saw that picture. It looks awesome, regardless of who the championships are. It's I said, gee, with your arms out with the 5. That was pretty cool. What was that event for?
It was an event to sell the courtside tickets, I think.
Okay. So, all right. Well, hey, wait, I'm coming into San Antonio. I don't think the season will start, but what are we thinking at Stirista? We thinking courtside seats or what? You have to now. You touch the trophies. That's the rule. You almost got arrested.
Yeah, no, I think it depends on how nice you are to me for the next month or so. But
all right. Well, did I say
tickets?
Can I say you look glowing today? You're glowing on this. So there's one thing there.
Thank you, Vincent. Sounds very authentic.
Right. Yeah, no, that wasn't, but there'll be more that'll feel more authentic because I am coming to San Antonio soon. Gonna be great to see all of the teammates there, not on the Spurs, my teammates at Stirista, but that is awesome. Love it.
I'm just going to toss something out. This is since we're marketing and sales related. So there were about 4 different salespeople that came up to me, and almost every one of them had the same pitch, which was great. So I guess Spurs is doing something right. And they were looking at the seats that Steve and I were looking at. And the first thing they said, this is the one right next to David Robinson. We don't even have to sell you on it.
Wow.
But every single one of them said it. So I was like, I don't know if David Robinson actually has those seats, but they sure did a good job promoting it.
Well, they did. So you could go a few different ways there because it's like, well, you like the consistent story,
right?
But also read the room. Someone already pitched that to me. So where is the authenticity? That is the "you're glowing" comment of the sales pitch, right? Yep. It's kind of that there. But that is awesome. Also, you just say, I know Manu Ginobili. You do. You're at the same club.
I did drop that. I asked for a discount because he plays on the same tennis club. So
Yep, I knew you were going to do that. I was just waiting for you to say it. So good. I love it. Look forward to seeing you. And also, I'm very much looking forward to this guest. I love the company that he represents. It's Media Math, ladies and gentlemen. And actually, I'm in New York City. I visited the offices there. I know many people there, but I want to talk to this individual. We'll get to Media Math, of course, great organization. But this next guest, he is our first Chief Product Officer on the podcast. We are very excited to have him. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm marketing stir welcome for Anudit Vikram. What's going on?
Hey, thank you, Vincent and Ajay. Thank you for having me here. What's going on? Lots going on, but not much going on. You know, that's the way life rolls nowadays in this new pandemic world of ours. But no, it's good from the business front. You know, the market's doing really well, so good from that perspective. I'm very grateful for the fact that I have a job that I don't even call it a job because I just love getting up in the morning and doing that. It's almost like it's fun. It's not job. So I'm really grateful for that fact. My immediate family, you know, close friends and everybody are healthy. Thank God. Like I have to admit that my extended family and friend circles have been pretty badly decimated, if that's the word for it. But you know, the immediate family is good. So got to take the good things, you know, and bad stuff that happens every so often. But all good. All good.
Well, good. Yeah, it's great to see you. It's finally nice to meet you. I know so many people at Media Math doing great stuff there at that organization. We haven't met in person. You and I, we will. We're close by, so hopefully we finally will. I've got friends there, Terrence, Friedman, Kim Teal, great organization. Anudit, for people who don't know Media Math like AJ and I do, talk a little bit about the organization. And then I'd love to learn your specific role there, what you're doing, kind of some of the day-to-day.
Absolutely. And thank you for asking that. Media Math, for those who don't know, is a DSP. You know, Vincent, you mentioned that you do have a DSP, so kind of similar from that perspective. We work on behalf of buyers, so brands and agencies, for running media campaigns on their behalf. Our call to fame is the fact that we are one of the OGs, if you will. We are the founding fathers of the DSP space in many ways. And obviously we've kind of been building on that. We are omni-channel, so we run campaigns across digital, whether it is TV or mobile or video or display, digital out of home, audio, you know, all of that. Obviously CTV is taking up more and more mind share and wallet share nowadays. So really excited to be working in that front as well. Something that really excites me about what we do at Media Math, we pretty much stay on the leading edge with some very niche technologies. So identity is something, you know, you mentioned about Stirista and the work that you are doing on identity. Identity is a calling card for us as well. We've spent a good amount of time re-architecting our identity infrastructure and strategy to essentially prepare ourselves for the world where the cookie goes away. And you know, we kind of plan for it in multiple stages. Cookie going away, first party identity becoming prevalent, aggregate data being required, any user identity being prohibited, and the world goes back to like a pure contextual kind of world that we might see happen based on the way privacy and regulations and so on are coming through. And then last but not the least, something that we have pioneered in the industry and are very proud to talk about is the concept of source. The transparency in the supply chain, the working with the ecosystem, and ensuring that the buyers and the sellers have full visibility into what happens in this very complex supply chain that we run for them. And so the fundamentals of source are around addressability, which means ensuring that whatever the identity might morph into, or however you are actually targeting an individual, a device, or a piece of content, our promise to you that we will have something real on the other side of the screen. It's around alignment, which is ensuring that the buy side and the sell side are aligned with each other. You can actually see the fee that are being transferred back and forth. It's about ensuring that we share data between the buy side and the sell side so we can maximize optimization for the buyer and the seller both. And it is about accountability. So ensuring that the buy side and the sell side are accountable for what happens. And we make all of this real through a very robust technological framework. So it is not just not to abuse the word just marketing speak. It is real technology that drives these three pillars of accountability, traceability, alignment. And we are very excited about bringing that to the world because it helps us stand out in a way that that is very close to my heart, which is it helps us stand out by actually bringing the whole ecosystem along with us. It's not about just us being a DSP. It is about us working with the likes of you, with the likes of other identity providers, with technical providers for fraud detection, creative management, dynamic creative optimization, blah, blah, blah. Like there are so many, we have a very robust ecosystem that we work within the ad tech space. And I'm proud of the fact that we as a company help that ecosystem grow. So, yep, that's MediaMath in not really a nutshell, but a nutshell. Yeah, and you wanted me to tell you about what I do?
Yeah, some specifics around that. And also I'd love to talk about, you started out specifically in a marketing role. A lot of the companies that you've worked at, a lot of companies that we know and really like here, it's within our industry, like the Merkles, the Dun & Bradstreets. But talk about that shift, how you got into marketing to begin with. We love talking about that. And then your shift into the product side.
Well, so I've been in a marketing role in the sense it's been more around, the business of marketing technology, if you will, right? So my initial days at Yahoo were purely on building out, actually it was Right Media when there was the ad exchange, the first ad exchange out there, and then it became Yahoo. And that was more about solutions, so marketing solutions that we would bring, to market based on the technology that we had built. And then with Yahoo, it was more about like growing that and expanding that out to be able to maximize the use of Yahoo inventory as well, obviously. And from there on, I went to Merkle, which was about marketing technology again. And that was where, Merkle was again one of the pioneers in bringing CRM to the digital space, where we started Merkle as a CRM agency purely, and then it became more of a digital agency. And now obviously they are massive. And then I moved to DNB. And that was more of a data role, really. It was marketing, but data-enabled marketing. And my job was more around making sure that we have a set of products, product lines that will allow us to maximize the commercial viability of Dun & Bradstreet data in the digital ecosystem. And then from there, I'm here now at MediaMath. With a very short stop in the middle at Essential, that was more about sales technologies, so to say, working with Amazon and the likes of retailers who would actually try to manage sales in the digital or the e-commerce world. And then now at MediaMath, it's purely technology, it's product. My teams are responsible for the things that we do with identity, the things that we do with source that I spoke about. I obviously our flagship DSP and everything that we do there. I also am responsible for our product marketing. I kind of can't let go of that marketing aspect, certainly. And also I'm fortunate enough to have a really strong data science and analytics team, both internal as well as customer analytics that works for me. So excited with what we can do. And, essentially, I kind of say this very often, there's no point in having a fabulous product if it doesn't really mean something for somebody or solve somebody's problem, right? So that's where the marketing piece comes in. Like we pride ourselves in solving the marketers' problems and making their lives better. And that's what we do at MediaMath now.
And that you started right at the beginning of the pandemic, I think, at MediaMath. And based on where we are filming this, I'm guessing you guys are not really back in the office still, right? So, how has it been getting to know your team all remotely? What are some of the tips you'll give to people who are starting jobs in a very remote environment?
Oh, great question. And yes, you're right. I started MediaMath about a few weeks after we had gone fully remote because the offices were closed because of the pandemic. So the 3 times that I have been inside the MediaMath office since I was an employee, I've been in the MediaMath office multiple times before I was a MediaMath employee, but since I've been an employee, I've been to the office thrice. And once there were 4 of us in the office, and once there were 3, and the last time there were just 2.
Wow. And that's a big office. I've been there before.
It's a massive office. Yes, a beautiful office, by the way. It's a beautiful office. And But no, you're right. It's an interesting ride, starting up something brand new in the middle of a pandemic in a purely remote world. But as technologists, we are kind of a little used to it. And most of us now are used to it because the world is so global that very often we are working with somebody who is not in your zip code, very likely not in your state or country either. So you are doing things, remotely. I have to say that if it wasn't for Zoom or the concept of video calls, it would have been a lot more difficult because sitting on a phone, like with just staring out into nothingness and trying to focus on a voice for a long time is very difficult. I think I would encourage that everybody, who is in a purely remote world, as long as they are in a position where they can be video and turn video on, please keep video on because it allows you to get to at least create some kind of a connection. You see the facial expressions, you see, the body language. It gives you a little bit of that feeling there. I can't even imagine how I could get through 8 to 10 hours of calls every day with multiple people on the same phone line. With at least the video, that somebody's talking and you can kind of focus on them. Building relationships is a little bit more challenging, but there's a good and the bad to it, right? The bad to it is that there are things that you do when you, to use a very archaic term, break bread. When you sit together and you have a drink or you have dinner and you build a kind of a relationship that is that is very different from a relationship that is built purely on this is who I think that person is. The real person comes out when you're in person with them. However, the positive is when you are a distributed team, right? There is always a little bit of an imbalance when there are some people who are closer together in a location and they can meet more often. And then there are some people who are further away and you don't really see them in person. And the relationships that you develop become slightly imbalanced. And I'm talking about, leaders. It certainly is true everywhere, but I'm talking very specifically about people in leadership positions. Whether we like it or not, there is a subconscious psychological thing which forces us to be slightly imbalanced because you just feel that you know somebody a little better than somebody that you never really met. And then when you do these conferences or conference calls and meetings and you have 8 people in a room and 1 person per person sitting on a phone somewhere and then 2 people sitting somewhere else, these 8 people have a different experience than the others. What this world has forced us to do is balance out that experience across everybody, right? Everybody is in a room by themselves. Everybody is basically equal at that table. And honestly, like the relationships I've been able to build with everybody, because, and I have to give it up to my team, they were very, very generous with their time on, getting on the phone, getting on the Zoom, just talking to me. And it allowed me to spend this kind of same amount of time with a colleague of mine who is in Singapore or Australia as I would with a colleague who is basically 3 buildings down, from me. And so I was able in some ways to build better relationships all around, while maybe they were an inch wide instead of being a mile deep, but that inch wide matters when you can get it across the entire organization. So I think it's difficult. I still kind of miss the human interaction, but it's possible because you can kind of learn through this the digital engagements, if you will. And if anything, it's taught me a few things about myself. I thought I was a huge introvert and I never needed to see anybody. I was on a plane 4 days a week, so I was forced to see many people every time. And I thought, I'll be so happy when I don't have to travel so much. Oh my God, no. I want to see people. I'm not really, I'm an introverted extrovert, I guess. I don't know what's the right word for it. I thought that I could just live my life watching TV. Oh God, no, I don't want to watch TV. I'm done with all those damn things. Like, just get me out of here. Like, just get me in front of people now.
Yeah, I would say we have had similar experience to you. So I know I'm fortunate enough to have had dinner with you once. So I feel like we're part of a small club of people that have had dinner in the pre-COVID world. But yeah, one thing that stood out to me was last year we did our virtual conference. And for the first time, we were able to include our employees in India and Serbia that normally didn't happen because all the US guys would get together and then the India guys would get together separately. And some of the remote guys were just out of luck. But we were able to do this. And I think that's something we'll continue doing even when things normalize, just because it was such a great experience to have every single person on the Zoom call.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the kind of raging questions in our industry now is this change in iOS and cookies going away. So would love to hear your perspective on how you see that affecting particularly kind of the media buying side of things.
Yeah, great question. And yes, it's a raging topic nowadays. But I say this, like the only constant is change, right? This had to happen. And in some ways, we brought it upon ourselves by just being so laissez-faire and disrespectful of the way we manage privacy, because the third-party cookie allowed us to do so many things. And then the world swings like a pendulum, right? It doesn't normally stay still. It kind of swings on one side, and then either it's swinging back, it kind of overcorrects onto the other side, and it kind of just keeps coming back and forth. And so I have been fortunate enough, when looking at it in a very myopic marketing lens, I've been with Yahoo on the publisher side. I've been with, Merkle on the agency, the buy side, and I've seen the pendulum from both the lenses. And I know that we kind of over-romanticized what we could actually do with the third-party cookie. Like we ignored the negatives that it brought with it, quality of data, what was real, and what was actually just, I have a cookie, it says you're male or female, including, ignoring for a second the multiple genders that are possible. If you just say male, female, I mean, yeah, sure, you're 50% right. Like, well, the cookie can't be wrong, right? Like, you're 50% here, right? And we just accepted a lot of those things as being, par for the course, and we just went along with it. And then, of course, that resulted in a bunch of privacy issues and so on. And here we are. Here's my take on it. The change, the going away of the third-party cookie, I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing. We have solutions. Technology is advanced well enough that we have some pretty good replacement using first-party IDs. And the quality of data via first-party IDs is so much better than what we had in the third-party cookie. Sure, the scale is lesser, right? But the quality is massive. However, we have some really cool technologies using artificial intelligence and machine learning that can allow you to infer a lot more with smaller data sets. And therefore, I think you will have good enough, responses or good enough ways to do attribution and so on using smaller data sets. And I think that's a good thing. Apple with IDFA and, going away, getting into purely aggregated mode. Yeah, attribution changes. The way you do measurement and attribution changes. But come on, let's be honest. How good were we, right? Were we actually really good at attribution? Or did we fool ourselves into believing that, yeah, we had already solved that problem? Because believe me, we had not, right? We might have solved the attribution problem in a channel, within a very narrow scope. And as long as you kept your marketing within that channel, sure, you had a pretty good view. Now, I will give it to the walled gardens, right? When they see end-to-end, when they can do everything, they see where the user comes, where the user buys, where the user clicks, sure, they can do attribution end-to-end. But remember, again, it's within that channel. But no marketer today runs their entire marketing campaign inside one channel. I mean, omni-channel marketing is marketing. Like, I don't think we even call it, we use the word omni-channel just to differentiate it, but it's not. I mean, all real marketing is omni-channel. So it's not like we had really solved attribution anyway. And I think understanding the fact that we want to be able to do things at aggregate level, understanding that the quality of data via the first-party IDs is so much higher, understanding that we did a pretty good job of actually getting the same messages across in the good old days of, magazines and looking at targeting only contextually. There is no reason why we cannot still provide the value to the buyer and the value to the user that they both deserve using the tools and the technologies that are available today.
I love hearing that perspective. And kind of one of my questions is around my last 10 years I really spent in the B2B marketing space, technology, data, and it looks like that's been similar to for you. I would love to hear what draws you to the technology or the B2B aspect of marketing.
Oh, great question. And actually, I'm glad you brought it up the way you did, because most of us in this industry, and we talk about marketing and measurement and targeting and so on, our mind just goes to one, right? We go to personalization, one-to-one targeting and so on. All of us in the B2B space know that doesn't exist. We target companies. We use people as proxy for companies. And so we are always working in the aggregated space. We are not really working, sure, I was at DNB, we built out this, we had 300 plus companies in our database, and we knew about people who worked at those companies, and we could target C-level employees and director level employees and blah, blah, blah. And we used what the company was doing as a proxy for what those people were interested in. And that's great, right? It works. What excites me about B2B marketing in some ways is that we went from, I use this example of like targeting in magazines and doing contextual targeting for users, to this hyper-focused, hyper-localized, hyper-targeting. The B2B world always stayed in this aggregated targeting mode. And I think the rest of the world can actually learn from B2B on how to run campaigns that are not necessarily hyper-localized and hyper-targeted, right? I think the B2B world has done some really cool things as it relates to maximizing the efficacy of events when it comes to driving business, and seeing how to use that to use the simile into the consumer world, like what you do at point of sale at a Walmart or a Target or a Costco versus what you do at your booth at an event. And then you go back and you try to do maximize or amplify that message by doing like one-to-one targeting via the browser or via the app and so on. Those are very, very similar kind of use cases. And then, for the want of a better word, the ticket value of B2B sales is so much higher. It's so much more fun. When I know that if I convert one user, I'm drawing, if I'm HP, like $2.5 million, versus if I convert one user, I'm drawing $2.50 to sell a soap. All different story. So certainly fun from that perspective as well.
Yeah, I share some of the same, interest there in B2B, what drew me to B2B marketing. Staying on marketing and kind of understanding how Media Math operates in terms of marketing, what would you say, what types of problems are you able to solve for your customers?
Yeah, great question. So we pride ourselves on being a highly performant and optimized platform, right? So again, we are talking, I'm going to spend a good chunk of my time talking about consumer marketing for the most part. And then certainly we do service the likes of IBM and B2B marketers as well. But from a consumer marketing standpoint, the marketer's singular goal is to maximize the efficacy of their campaigns as it relates to running them on various different channels and seeing whether the message that is being delivered is actually resonating and whether that message is then converting into sales, right? What MediaMath does, we have a core technology which we have very, very smartly labeled the brain, right? So the MediaMath brain takes in a multitude of signals from the point of like, what is the kind of inventory source that a certain type of user actually prefers? What is the type of creative that resonates and the message that resonates with type of users? What time of day do users prefer? What type of creatives? And then certainly all the first party, third party data that we can actually get. And we use that within the brain to influence or to inform the algorithm, which then generates bits for us to decide whether for this user on this property at this time, would it make more sense to show them a Callaway golf ad or a Cosmopolitan magazine ad or something else, depending on the characteristics that we know of the user. What MediaMath also does is it allows marketers to use this brain in more esoteric fashion. So for example, if you are an insurance company and you're running, when you run marketing as an insurance company, you run marketing for yourself, but then each of your insurance adjusters or so on, they are running their own little business within your company, and they're running their marketing programs within their locations and so on. What we allow you to do is we allow the brain that is running the program for the insurance company to then spawn off these little brains, which all these smaller brains can then actually learn from the big one, and they can immediately start running optimized campaigns for new insurance people as they come on, right? That's one example. The other thing that we do is we actually create, we have technology that allows us to extract or modularize our systems. So if you are a company that is in a regulated industry and you're not allowed to expose your data outside of your walls, we can take our entire algorithm and our systems, think of it as BYOB, bring your own algorithm, bring your own data, and we can implement that inside your walls so that your data and your systems will be localized to you, and you can still influence the larger DSP to do the work on your behalf. And then finally, well, not finally, but one more thing that we do is we also allow you to like fully white label the platform to create specialized solutions for you to enable your marketing campaigns in the way you want them to run, integrating into your marketing stack, your systems, whatever your tech looks like.
I know that one of our signature questions we like to ask here is around LinkedIn. So I'm guessing based on your job title, you get almost an unlimited stream of unsolicited messages. So our question is, what is it that gets you to respond, and what is something that really drives you crazy?
Well, what drives me crazy? I like to address those questions first because they are more fun. What drives me crazy is when I actually got an email the other day and it says, Anudit, I have noticed that you have been sending many SMS messages. No. I haven't sent a single SMS message. And that's in that little header of the text, right? I don't even have to open my email. It shows up right there. I'm never opening that email. And when you send me that message comes to me multiple times, and then it changes slightly to, it looks like you haven't read my earlier one. Obviously, I have not read your earlier one. At some point in time, you got to get the message and not send me the same thing over and over again. That drives me crazy, right? What gets me to open is if you have somehow been able to get a more brand-oriented message in front of me at some point in time, so that when I see an email from you, I can draw a connection to something that actually stayed in my mind, right? It's very, very rare that I will open a cold email without there being any connection whatsoever. Maybe if it has a subject line that is so relevant to something that I am just thinking about, maybe, but even then, likely not. And I am just looking up right now, at the risk of just making me sound really, really bad, I have 8,794 unread emails in my mailbox. And I will tell you this, every weekend I go to inbox 0. Okay, wow. Every weekend I spend time going to inbox 0. That doesn't mean I read all my 8,000 emails, but I will at least parse through them, and I'll either delete them or I will move them out. But when I start work on Monday morning, my inbox says 0 unread. Wow. And right now there are, like I said, 8,000 and some unread. So,
hey, that's awesome. That's always my goal, but I always end up starting the week with 10 or 15 that are left over, and I just can't seem to get rid of them.
Well, I'm sure I miss every so often, but the intention is inbox.
And that you are pretty active on LinkedIn. So one of the things that we have picked up on is that your wife is very accomplished and a very accomplished writer. We'd love for you to share on the podcast a little bit about her and the books she has written.
Oh, absolutely. She'll be happy. I'll make sure that she hears the podcast because she believes that I don't know anything about what she does. But no, yes, she is. And as somebody very nicely, Jay Sears, I don't know if you guys know him, but He's a very good friend, and yesterday he commented on the little video that she had put up there, my video, that it's quite obvious that Anudit married up. And yeah, that's true. That's true. But no, my wife she actually has a marketing background, but she is a holistic health counselor and Ayurveda coach, and she works with women, essentially empowering women who have either who are facing difficulties because of domestic issues or because of displacement due to immigration and things of that sort. And she's been this is her 13th book, if I remember correctly, and this is a nonfiction. She's written 2 novels in fiction, a few books in poetry, and this is nonfiction. This is it's a book called A Piece of Peace, and it is on Amazon, so anybody can search for A Piece of Peace on Amazon, and it's there. It's about how to live your life in a holistic way, and Ayurvedic tips to manage a balanced life, which all of us, I'm sure, will admit that, at least I would put my hand up and say that I fail at managing a balanced life. I actually have at least matured enough to a point where I recognize my imbalance and try to work on it. If you had spoken with me about 5 or 7 years ago when I was much, much younger, I was actually proud of my imbalanced life. Yeah, so her book is about what should you do, and when you find yourself in an imbalanced situation, what can you do to get better?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, again, that's Piece of Peace. Check it out. Thanks for sharing that, AJ and Anudit.
Vincent, I think you should read that one.
I should, yeah, right. I do need balance.
Yeah.
In my life.
A PIECE.
Yes, a piece of
PEACE. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. And I can see those are people who are watching the podcast on YouTube. You can see it in the back there. The title. I see the poster in the back.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I got
of you there. Yep. So
nice.
Yeah. Let's reflect back on your career thus far. What are some shining moments in your career at any of the jobs that you've had there that stand out to you?
Oh, that's nice. That's such a nice question.
Yeah, we're nearing the end. We always like to let's reflect, right? It's a reflection point on a career shining moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice thinking on the nice thing. So I'll say this, like, my shining moments are really funny ones. Like funny ones, and like I don't know how many people will relate to them or not, but they're more about there was a time when we had I was working at Microsoft in those days, way back when, very, very early in my career. And we were doing a server implementation for a bank. And we had some problems with implementation, and there was just no way that we would figure out, nobody was able to figure out what was wrong. And this was it was going on for months, like it was 3-4 months or something, and we were not able to figure it out. I have a very simple philosophy in life on, if it's technology, it can be fixed, right? Like that's a very simple philosophy that I have. And we went into this situation after we were called in, like when nobody else could actually figure anything out. And we went in there, asked a few very basic questions, asked some questions that we thought were really, really dumb. I thought that would be really dumb, but I was like, what the hell, I'll just ask it anyway. And lo and behold, you go through some of that, and then you put a few tweaks and fixes, and it works. And everybody's like, oh my God, like how did that happen? I have no idea, other than the fact that as long as you stay true to first level fundamentals, right, to first principles, things will fix themselves. You will be able to fix things. And that to me was a shining moment because it reinforced my belief that first level principles always work, right? Another one was about a time, and this was recently, relatively recently, a few years ago. I had a few team members that were just in a position where they were not able to see, the forest for the trees, or through the fog into the other side. And it took a little doing, but working with them on a regular basis, and then showing them, talking to them about how they should be thinking about life, because very often when you're at work, it's your life that is in the background and in your subconscious that is playing on you, that influences your decisions and your thinking, and then everything starts becoming very bright or very murky depending on what angle you're coming at it at. And so seeing the light go on in people's eyes and giving them hope again on what can be better or going forward, that kind of just makes me very, very happy. It's something there. Personally speaking, I was working at a news channel when we were building out the model that actually would help call the election night, the presidential election, which happens 4 years every November. And that was the Bush Gore election. That was the first time that we built the model. And I was very, very proud of the fact that my model actually predicted that it would go that close and would eventually be called on just a single state. Very excited about that. So those are three things that stand out in my mind. They're random, but they're very exciting for me personally.
Yeah, three very different experiences, but that's thanks for sharing that. And finally, for fun, what do you like doing for fun? Besides watching the Patriots, as you and I were talking about, the Giants, and talk to me about what you like to do.
Pre-pandemic fun was different fun in the in-pandemic fun, but just to put all of that aside, golfing. I love golfing. I have a travel bug, which is itching at this point in time. I need to get out. Love meeting friends and family. It's great hanging out with my nephews and nieces. Just something that can calm my mind, clear my mind. Absolutely, football, Patriots. Real big tug of war between Patriots and Tom Brady at this point in time. But you know what? We'll just do them both. I'll take them now. I'm fortunate. I love reading books. There are many things. I've recently found myself getting more and more into like art and painting. I love acrylic painting and woodworking.
Oh wow!
It's like I love doing things with just working, making something come to life. So yeah, that's the fun things.
That's awesome.
I would do cooking for fun. That would help.
Yeah, it's like, you're doing all these great things, woodworking. How about some cooking? How about I'd love a meal one of the times. Well, no, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story and taking some time with us here on the Marketing Stir. This has been, I love the way you explain things and break it down in various levels. So thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Marketing Stir. That is Anudit Vikram, the Chief Product Officer at Media Math. Look up Media Math, give them a look. I'm Vincent Petrofessa. That's Ajay Gupta. Thank you so much for listening and watching. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like, rate, and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com. And thanks for listening.